Hey loves, thanks so much for coming by. I am your host, Dee Shields, and today we're going to be talking about balance, not only in the workplace, we're also going to be talking about balance at home. Balance at home, balance in the workplace, balance in your community, balance in your relationships. This is a little bit past what you normally have heard about new habits and how to go about and create them, because there are all kind of experts out there that are going to tell you by the majority at 30 days of doing anything and that new habit will form. Okay, yeah, that's true. But you need a little bit of Dee Shields mixed in there, and that is so important. So I'm going to make sure that I am sharing this secret with you guys so that you know that there is a little bit more to it than just taking 30 days and expecting the mind to be changed. So let's share a quote. I think I share this one all the time. So for the new listeners, this is new to you. For the old listeners, I know you're tired of hearing my stuff. But we're in the ball game of trying to get me up to like 1 million listens, right? So you're going to have to hear things repeated. Is this okay? Just write it down. Maybe you forgot to write it down last time, old listeners, so you have to hear it again. So listen, I was in Houston, Texas once at an event, and Creflo Dollar was the speaker. And he said something that stayed with me into forever, because he said it like maybe over 6 or 7 years ago, probably longer than that. It was longer than 7 years ago. And it stayed with me. And it's about, it's related to this topic because it's going to take this in order for you to understand the concept of 90 Days Creates New Habit. So if you're new to the show, do know that you do need a pen and paper, because in the legacy that is my grandmother, my Mima, we in my family, we make sure that we write things down. We cannot trust your memory, right? So everybody knows that really when you want to hold on to the creative process and you want to hold on to something that inspired you, before you go to bed at the end of the day, or even at the moment that you hear it, you want to write it down. And it's the power of writing it down that carries on to the next day and to the next day until it just stays with you, especially those life lessons that are wisdom that we need, right? So shout out to our wisdom listeners that are tuned in across the globe. I appreciate you for being here. Also, feel free to hit that microphone and know that I will bring you onto the topic as long as you stay on topic. All right. So Creflo Dollar said at this event in Houston, he said to the audience, he told us, do you know the biggest thing, that miracle that God's ever done? And he let people like raise their hands and try to share, so people are like raising their hands and they're like, making the guy walk that couldn't walk, right? Or somebody walks from being in a wheelchair for years, or somebody's healed from a sickness, and all these different things were shared. And then he just blew us all away, and he said this one thing: one of the biggest miracles that God's ever done is to change a mind. You're going to have to write that down. That's going to be relevant to where we're going with the topic. Get ready. We're going to share some new music alert. So get ready. No pun intended. New music, new song. So get ready. I'm going to share that with you guys. But listen, your mind is going to have to change possibly in order to get to this new habit, if the habit is so far away from anything that you've ever done. And sometimes in my experience and in the wisdom that I have gained over the years, I'm almost 50 years old, almost, because the sister's still 48. But in the wisdom that I've gained over the years, I have learned that it takes time for a mind to change. And 30 days for some people, depending on how bad the habit is, 30 days may not be enough. So I have this thing that I created, 90 Days Creates New Habits. And, my granddaughter can finish the sentence for you if she just hears me say 90 days. 90 Days Creates New Habits. Or my daughter-in-law created a new little jingle to go with it, because it's, one of my little quotes in the family. So she created it, 90 Days Creates New Habits. 90 Days Creates New Habits. And that is what you are going to get from today's show. So get ready. No, really, get ready, because that's the name of the song that I'm about to play. So get ready. And then we're going to come back and talk today's topic, 90 Days Creates New Habits. And I'm going to give you detailed examples and why I say that some people for certain habits need a little longer than 30 days.
I have planned it out so carefully. I
about that, you guys. I'm trying to do something. Maybe not actually. That's the bloopers that I was telling you about in my stories. So, I really want you to hear this one, but it may not play right. I'm sorry. That was not actually right. Sorry, you guys. Okay, so Get Ready is a good song. We just may not be able to play that particular one, okay? So I'm sorry about that. We're going to go on to Jim. We'll come back to her song. Sometimes people... Quality is everything, people. Especially when submitting for a podcast. Quality is everything. Shout out to Epidemic Sound. Thank you for singing the artist. I don't want you guys to think that I know I do pay a fee for the music, but I don't want you to think I'm coming down on anybody, but just be real careful about the quality that you send to a radio station. Alright, I'm going to get off the conversation. Stick around in the background with them. I'll be right back. All right, you guys, so thank you so much for that. And please let me know if I am glitching on the other end also. I'm going to get some feedback real quick. All right. All right. Thank you guys for staying with the topic, and I hope it's not hurting you. It's really hard in Texas. It's hard in Texas. All right. This is not Colorado. All right. Shout out to home state, Texas, here in the Austin, Texas area, and I'm excited about being back. I'm seeing a lot of new things. For a lot of people that may not know, some people know because I keep a very small circle, because I don't know, one time I wrote down something that I heard, and Janet Jackson once said that you need to keep your circle 8 or less. So I've always done that since hearing that. So I have a very small circle. So most people are gossiping about what I'm doing because only the 8 or less even know what I'm doing or where I'm at all times. But for the 8 or less that know, I haven't physically been in the Austin area. I'm born and raised from Austin, Texas. I have not been in the Austin area for 17 to 18 years. Like just here to really explore and see all the new things. So whatever Austin has done since 17 years ago, for people that are from Texas, whatever Austin's done since 17 years ago, I'm exploring it as if it's new, because most of the time being at Fort Hood, Texas, Killeen, Texas area, I would just go hit 35 and go to San Antonio, or hit, 35 and go towards Dallas, or get on 10 and go to Houston, or go 35 to 20 to Atlanta. I really didn't spend a lot of time in Austin, only coming on occasion. So having the time that I'm having this summer, I'm finding all kind of new places, all kind of new things. And I like the new look. It's different. Denver was one of my choices for so long, because Denver has a lot of what I like when it comes to the views of the mountains, but it also gave me a sense of the weird and music and, artist, creative aspect that I need, just being a person that grew up in Austin. So that's why I chose Denver, and it was better for me than Colorado Springs, Colorado, right? But now that I'm back in New Austin, Denver looks like crap. I don't like how Denver looks compared to the new downtown Austin. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. 90 days creates new habits, like me staying on topic. All right, so listen, 90 days creates new habits. I want you to write this down, right? So you can learn how to do something differently if you just spend 90 days being consistent and making sure that you are putting your time and energy into really doing things differently. How serious are you about dropping a bad habit? How serious are you about focusing on the new? How serious are you about going in a better direction? You may need more than 30 days if in your mind you have made it okay to do really bad habits. If you have a really bad habit and someone comes along and says, look, the way that this has been going, this is not good for you. This is not good for your well-being. This is not good for your home. This is not productive for your children. This is going to teach them bad habits. Here's a new way of doing things so that before you can go to that next level, you're going to have to really break this bad habit. And you're going to have to be consistent on breaking that bad habit in order to go to that next level, go on to do whatever it is that you're desiring to do. You have this block going on. You can't figure out why things are not moving forward. There's a bad habit that you need to break, right? So keeping a home clean and organized. If you're keeping a home clean and organized, you want to make sure that everyone in the home participates, right? The best thing for especially small ages, like young, so small from, I would say 4 years old on to 12. I really don't want you to go past 12 trying to teach these new habits, because you're really going to struggle trying to get them to do things the right way if you're waiting past 12 in today's society, because social media so influences these children to the point where you may not be able to get a word in edgewise, right? So you could be talking to them, but they're not hearing you. Like some of you right now, you stop listening. That point, that right there. Get your pen and paper. I said, write this down. So listen, so you need to start implementing these things that you want them to do that are going to make them great when they go out into the real world. In a few more years, they're going to be headed to high school. Some of them in high school already, and they're going to be headed to college. They're going to be getting jobs. There are habits that they need to have that they take with them for the rest of their life, that if you implement this into them now, and I was one of those moms that I like to use the maid service. I did. Once I was able to afford a maid, I got into that because I'm a Virgo, and Virgos like things a certain way. And trying to get my children, who were by that time extremely spoiled, to understand how I wanted it to be wasn't working. So I got a maid service, and she kind of done how I wanted it. And I was able to spend some time with my children. I don't really recommend that, because I look at some of the bad habits that were taken into their adulthood that they have had to break. So doing everything myself as that Virgo, how Virgos, how we tend to do, doing everything ourselves because we want it done a certain way, it can actually be detrimental to the people around you and the lessons that you need them to learn in the future, right? So you might not want to go about doing it by yourself, and you may not want to be too dependent on the maid either, for those of you that are able to afford the maid service. And this is not an endorsement for the company, but I do want you guys to know, like, if you just put even on your Facebook, or if you go to like Molly Maids, and there's some different apps, you will find really affordable cleaning teams that can come in and get some things done when you're super busy. Because what you cannot do is let that mess pile up. So if you need to create new habits around your home, and you need a little help as you show your children a new way of doing it, go and look for a cleaning person to come in and help you get that major clutter that has happened. I swear it's I'm not judging anybody for the clutter. I'm just telling you that it's not okay, because you'll take that habit into the workplace, and you don't want to take it there because you're going to be judged on a whole different platform. So maybe get one of those cleaning ladies to come through. I know several personally. I know of cleaning people. I know 3 different people cleaning in Detroit, in Austin, and San Antonio. So there are a lot of cleaning teams out there. And get somebody to come and help you get that mess cleaned, and then spend 90 days showing your family, your spouse, the people that live in your home, how the children, how things need to be kept from then on. And then look here, if you like that person's service and you can fit it into your budget, like you didn't buy a Gucci bag, you didn't buy a $500 belt, $300 boots. If you fit it into your budget, you can actually keep the person, and that's going to be good for their income and their cleaning business that they're building, as well as it's going to be good for you because you have some help and you're not stressed out, right? So having help means it's a big deal for women. I identify with it on so many different levels. of mom, being a mother and raising my children when I was raising them when I was a single mom. And then when I met my husband, I met a guy who was in the army and he was always deploying. So I was still kind of in single mom mindset. Then he went to the war and my husband was killed in the war. And then I became this widow single mom status. So I've had to I've seen a lot of different avenues so I can identify with your pain. And I know what it's like to go through different stages of life and to be on this journey and need some help. So it's okay to need some help. Forget all the people around you that will have something to say about you having a maid. They may call you bougie. I'm not going to tell you how I know that they're going to call you bougie, but if you get a maid, they're going to call you bougie. I'm just something that I heard, but they're going to call you names, but they don't know what's going on in your household. For those people who are guilty and they're listening to the show right now, you were so busy calling me bougie, but my therapist was trying to get my mental together because my husband had been killed at war. So she was helping me by saying, reach out to the services that exist, Dee. Go out there and get some help. I found the maid service. They were amazing, and it helped me through it at a time when I needed them the most, right? So you're judging people and you don't know their whole story, right? But, anywho, let's stay on these 90 days creating new habits, right? So once you do this, and then you have this service, and they come and they clean your home, and they're helping you keep it clean like an Airbnb almost, and it's looking like a magazine, girl. You ready to put some pictures up on Instagram that don't have all that mess in the background. You can do a little TikTok. All that. Once you have that, then you're going to start implementing the new way. And getting whiteboards and putting a schedule up on the refrigerator and assigning chores to people and making sure that you are not babysitting men. Like in 90 days, if the guy that you're with has always had to be told when to take out the trash, if the guy that you're with has had to be told, hey, I need help, if the woman that you're with has to be given instructions on when to come in and do her part, right? To do their part. When that's happening, in 90 days, let's go about trying to give a new way of things being and making sure that everyone sits down with the weekly family meetings to say, this is how I feel. And I want to see if you guys can start helping me in this area and that area. And in 30 days, you are going to see some change. But with that really resistant, bad behavior household, you may need another 60 days. And then you're going to see a little bit more change happening, and you're going to see money being saved. You're going to see your stress go away. You're going to find more time to laugh and sit down and enjoy. You're not always up screaming and hollering and dishes and trash and banging and slamming and washing and clothes and laundry. All that's not happening because you're enjoying this process now, because new habits are being formed and you're not doing it all by yourself, right? 90 days creates new habits, right? That's the topic. That's what we're talking about. In 90 days, you're going to see something new happening. Once you get to 60 days, it's really starting to be real smooth. The money's being saved. Things are clean. You're finding that extra money, time to get out of the house, finding things to do outside. And the more you are outside, wait a minute. Is that what our grandparents were doing? Is that what our parents were doing back in the day? We stayed outside until the street lights came on. That's what it was, just to keep the house clean. The more you're doing something outside, you may find that you're not having to do so much extensive cleaning inside. Because one of the bad habits that people need to break is being on those devices and munching and chewing and opening and snacking and eating bad. And just like all that's just surrounded into a pile of ugh, right? You know that Key and Peele episode with the big dude with the pizza? Like, are you that? Like some of these bad habits can be broken. And then as those are broken, things are going to start getting better and looking better around you, including spending so much time watching everything that comes out on television. You could replace a favorite TV show with a favorite podcast series, More Tea with Dee, or I Am Dee Shields, the podcast, the lyrics breakdown, to name a few. But you can go and do all kind of different things outside with your earplugs on, and enjoying nature, becoming one with nature and all those great things that are, I don't know, going to help you live longer, So 90 days comes, and the next thing you know, everyone around you is helping. Things are cleaner. You're not having to do as much laundry because you've been keeping the laundry up. You're walking to the laundry room with one little basket compared to when you were going with 10 baskets all the time, because you're making a consistent habit of keeping things done all the time, not being distracted by partying and hanging out and barbecues, right? You're taking time to make sure your home has balance so that when you go out into the community, you are balanced and not fist fighting at an Erykah Badu concert, All right, you guys. So I'm going to try again with a little music. Going to come back. Wisdom, I'll be back, okay? I'm going to share another one that I liked, and I hope this one plays for me.
I ran away from heartbreak. Got nothing in return for my pain. I never thought I'd be so empty, so alone and afraid. Wasn't looking for a lover. Nobody understood where I've been. I guess I thought I needed more time to protect my love from potential offense. So I then you and you, but I so you and I'm not surprised by what I found, 'cause I know I needed something different, and it had to be you. Out the blue, somebody who
All right, you guys, so that one was Had to Be You by King Sis. Thank you so much for that one. Epidemic Sound when you want to know where I'm getting all of this great new music. All right, so listen, that's just about finding balance in your home, right? So we go back to the quote. So the mind has to be changed. Creflo Dollar says that that's one of the biggest miracles, and I'm not religious in any way. I just like when a speaker says something that's so profound, right? So that's one of the biggest miracles that God has ever done, right? So if the mind can be changed, and then I can say, I know I have this bad habit, and I'm going to start chipping away at this. Like I have things out on the counter, and I'm going to start wiping the counters down and making sure that the dishes are cleaned and making sure that I put them up and making sure that I do my laundry consistently so that when I go do laundry, I'm only doing one basket a week versus multiple baskets, right? And then I go to clean my sheets. I could just clean the sheets and not 4 weeks worth of sheets that's, piled up. Like when all of that's happening, by the time you get to 90 days, your mind is changing and you've convinced yourself that this works because you're telling yourself this works, right? And then the children, kids love to hear things repeated, right? They don't know they love it yet, but you're going to teach them that they love it, right? So they love to hear it said over and over again. So instead of giving them, all these different, yelling episodes and all the different things that you've done that's toxic in nature and is going to cause them to be toxic when they go out into the community and into the environment at school and on the school bus, instead of yelling to get them to do things, stay calm and then just quote the quote. Right? You can say Dee Shields said, sis would love a little shout out in your home, right? But you could also just say 90 days creates new habits, right? So you have a child and you're trying to get them to say something. Like my granddaughter is used to just being able to sarcastically blurt out whatever, she's mixed with white and black. And so I have to bring her back to black mama way all the time, right? So, and my daughter is black, but she didn't implement a lot of black mama in her household, and my granddaughter's 8, right? So I have to bring her back to the black mama way. So when she does something instead of me, I've already sat you down and given you the intense lecture, right? And my family's used to the really long lectures when I'm trying to make a point, and they get so tired of the lecture being so long, the length of a TED Talk, that they decide that they don't want to go through that again, so they just start doing the thing that I'm asking them to do. And that's a little psychology right there. I have to teach you that trick in a life coaching session, sis. But you go, and I'm telling you, so now I've already told you, and I'm not really a fan of repeating myself about something that needs to be done. So instead of saying what I've already told you, her and I have this little 90 days quote going on, right? So I'll say something and she'll talk back, right? And I'm a black mama and I don't know how to let her do that, right? But I'm not a spanking, slapping, beating, hitting, fighting black mama. Right? So me and you are different, sis. I don't have to put my hands on people to get my way to be done. And I don't have to put my hands on people to have it understood that I'm the HBIC, right? I just carry myself in a way where people understand that I'm in charge and that what I'm telling you is for your better good, not because I want to be a bossy bitch, but because I want you to understand that if you implement this into your life, it's going to make life easier around here, right? So when she talks back, 90 days, that's what I'll say. She'll go, creates new habits, Nana. Well, there you go. That's literally the point that I'm trying to make, right? So every time they're doing a bad habit, you go in there, repeat the thing. 90 days creates new habits. Say it after me. 90 days creates new habits. And then you stop what you're doing, lazy mom, lazy dads, lazy guardians. Stop being selfish about what you have going on. Cancel your plans for the day if it takes that. Stop being selfish. Take the time to build the future, because those children sitting in the home on iPads and iPhones, clapping back and yelling, "Bite me, mom," are going to be the future. So if you don't want them to bite me, mom, off a rooftop and shoot up a fireworks display of people, then you need to make sure that you're stopping what you're doing to implement the rule. Stop your life. I see a lot of lazy parenting that happens. Stop your life. You were on your way to the movies and the child is in the car and they're disrespecting what you have said. I said not to do that. You don't continue to ride to the movies. You park the car, pull over, take all the little tablets and iPhones and iPads, put them in your big bag. That's why we carry a big bag. You didn't know that? There you go. Fashion tip Dee Shields 101. You may have to confiscate things from people that don't know how to behave. Put it in your bag and turn that car around and go back home. Don't continue on to the movies. What lessons have you taught if someone is acting up and disrupting and cutting up, and then you continue on to go to the fun place, McDonald's or the pizza place or the movies or the mall, and then have the audacity to walk in that MF and buy that little brat a $400 shirt or whatever it is? That's not going to teach them any lessons, because then they're going to be the person in a $400 shirt getting out the car and fighting for their girlfriend who can't buy a bag of chips at the bodega and going behind the counter and fighting the bodega owner to the point where the bodega owner kills him because no one implemented that you cannot always cut up. Just gave him the $400 shirt, so you got murdered in a $400 shirt. Killed in a, self-defense. I don't even like to say murder, but I think they say it is murder charges. But you guys get how I'm putting today's stories into the place of the things that I'm trying to teach you about making sure that you don't send that kind of crap out into society? Stop being selfish. 90 days creates new habits. Look at your home. Now we're about to talk about another one that this is going to really hit home and hurt a lot of people, and you're going to be okay, because when I slap you, boo, I slap in love. Right? So in your home, you see the behaviors before society sees it. So before society has to be utterly irritated or disrespected or traumatically impacted with things that you saw before we saw it, you are responsible for making sure that this does not happen. And if you did your part, sis, and that little hardhead went out there and still became life's sociopath, then you know what? I applaud you, or brother. I applaud you for doing your part, and that person's on the path that they're on, and they'll learn their journey. But if you're not doing your part, and you're sitting at home and someone's talking back to you and you're doing nothing about it because you don't have time. Someone's violently hitting a sibling, violently hitting another adult in the home, and you're doing nothing about it. Not keeping things clean and being messy. That's the person that you send into my office space, and I'm supposed to sit and deal with the person who is nasty at work during the pandemic because their parent never taught them to not be nasty. You get where I'm coming from? There are habits that you're looking at right now that you can break. 90 days creates new habits, people. 90 days creates new habits. You need to do something. You need to get the help that's needed. And if it's too much for you, you need to reach out to the resources that exist. So you might have a little person that maybe just needs a little counseling. You may have somebody that needs a little Alcoholic Anonymous. You may have someone dealing with drugs and need to go to rehab. You may have someone that's violently acting out and you may need to call the police. Little time in jail, little felony. Will that work out for you to get your 90 days or more to create a new habit? You need to do the work because you see these things a lot of times before society sees it. I know because I watch the news and you're always the one on the news talking about they were always fighting. They were always violent. I knew one day it would be bad. Yeah, real bad. You ruined 30 other people's lives because of what you didn't do to stop your family member. Right? So you have a responsibility to stop bad behavior, and it's not going to make you the popular one, right? But I'm friends with my friends in my head. So I have so many friends that are friends in my head. I don't need friends. No, I'm joking. But literally, I have 8 or less friends, and I just don't know. I just was born this way. I just literally have a few people in my circle because I don't thrive off of the need of having other people approve of my life in order for me to live it, right? So I can focus on things and see things a little differently, but I'm telling you that if you write these things down, you know your list. So I'm really just kind of pulling at, short straws on this one because only you physically know your list. You're the one that knows what's going on in your environment that needs attention, that needs you to stop scrolling on your phone and stop ignoring it, that needs you to put your creative project down for a minute and put some real attention to it. You know the things around you that are getting out of hand because you're so busy being selfish and trying to go for something that if you would just sit this to the side, God would open up the door for that something you're trying to go for to be even better. Because the universe respects when people are responsible. So if you will stop and be responsible and create new habits, make sure that your team, your family, your team, or the people around you are creating new habits. When I go into the workplace, when I leave, things change. And I like that because I feel like, anyway, we got a podcast coming up and I'm going to talk to you about being the chosen one. So you're just going to come back because it looks like I'm running out of time, 11 minutes. So I don't have time to talk about that, but I will be coming back on a podcast. So when you see the chosen one topic pop up, make sure that you come back for that. But when I go somewhere, it's just like I have a calling to say, woo, how did I end up here? And I'm I go home mad, I'm upset, God, you cursed me again. This is another shitty ass job. But then I'll continue to stay loyal and I'll continue to go back. And then when I know my time is up, I'll go. But most of the things that are irritating me on the contract is a bunch of bad habits. And so the 90 days that I'm there, I try to help that team create new habits. I just do not comprehend walking into a workspace, especially the fancy ones, and everything's brand new and, it's all zen and feng shui up in there. But the microwave and the refrigerator is nasty because the people that are using the microwave for lunch aren't cleaning it and the refrigerator's nasty. I become that volunteer. My grandmother raised volunteers, right? So my mother knew how to make sure that we volunteered and didn't have a problem taking on projects even though it's not my mess, right? So I become the volunteer to spring clean that thing. People say it's just your OCD and your Virgo. Maybe, but this pandemic kind of helped out a little bit. And monkeypox is on its way across the nation. So I'm going to make sure that I'm the microwave refrigerator clean person. Right? And I don't even bring my lunch because I don't want my food in there with Becky and them food. But I will make sure that it stays clean, right? So I'm going to make sure that I just keep it clean. And they're like, oh, that's such a great thing that you're doing. And then I try to implement new ways. You know, you just made some soup and some broccoli. That was your lunch. Could you just wipe that up there for a girl real quick? Because I'm going to be running out of here a little early today, you know. And then that one that you have to say it over and over again until she's so upset she's going to HR. She's not in charge of the refrigerator and the microwave, so why is she always telling me? But I've already had to talk with HR, so they're like, well, you know, Becky, your habits are a little nasty, so if you could just help her out, we wouldn't have to hear Dee go on and on about the refrigerator and the microwave. You know, and then I go home and blow my nails and my work here is done. 90 days creates new habits. Sometimes you have to go all out of your way in order to help people understand that new habits need to be formed in this environment. So whether you're in the workplace or you're at home, you can help people, inspire them to create a new habit. You can gossip about it. And who's nasty? I always go into a workplace and people like to point out to me right away, you know, that one always has crumbs in her chair. Girl, she be having flies on her desk. You know, me, I'm going to be like, girl, I was so inspired. When you left early, I cleaned your whole desk off. Now do me a favor, girl. You better keep it up. Don't be pissing off Mama D, you know. And then I'll go into that little Medea mode and they're like, right. You know, but they kind of feel like a little embarrassed because you guys were so busy gossiping. You never told her. I'm going to be the one to tell her because I don't want to sit there and be at work, you know, with flies, you know. So I don't know. Maybe we're different, sis. There's a lot more I could say about that. But 90 days creates new habits. I don't know what your issues are. You could tweet me. We could talk about it. You could share with me what the bad habit is that's happening in your environment. We could talk about those bad habits, and I even could take you into, we'll close out with relationships, right? So we're going to talk about bad habits in relationships. Sometimes you're going to meet some people that have some bad habits, and that's how we're going to close it out. But you could tweet me, share with me something that I didn't bring up on the show today. You can ask me a question about something that I suggest that might give you a tip to help things happen differently in your environment. And let's have a conversation about it. If it's a little, real embarrassing, like the dude you with won't keep the brown dookie stains out his drawers, you know, like I can't tweet that, D. I get that. You know the diva got you. Just hit me in the DM and we're going to talk about them dookie stains and how in 90 days we can make sure that bad habit goes away. Either you gonna go or he gonna stop doing that. Okay, so you can DM me if it's really bad, but do feel free to tweet me. You can find me on Twitter, Wisdom. Before we get into this relationship tip, which is the very last one for today, I wanted to shout you guys out. I appreciate you. Look at that crowd over there on Wisdom. This may take a minute. We only have a few minutes left. Okay, so Bonnie, thank you for coming by. Ellen, John, Angelina, hit that microphone if you wanted to add a thought. Mr. Ronald, Sodoko, thank you. Ismail, thank you. Ramel, thank you. Kelly, I love seeing you guys show up from all over the globe. Thank you. Love to, thank you. Alex G, thank you. Crystal, thank you. Dr. Robert, I appreciate you. Austin Kelly, the shit I know now. Got to listen to your podcast. Thank you for stopping by. John Bush, thank you. Terry, Daniel R. Curtis, thank you. Monique, thank you. Andrea, thank you. Christopher John, make sure you follow and I'll follow back. Lynette, thank you for stopping by. Abigail, thank you. Philip, child of God, indeed. Thank you for stopping by. Lee News, Peter, Kaidi, Jeremy, all of you rock. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Hit that microphone if you want to share anything over there on Wisdom. So, do we even have time for a song? We don't. There was another song I wanted to feature on here. I'll close out with that song, okay? So, for the rest of our lives, okay, it's the song, and I wanted to share that. But, Bo, I'm going to share your song, but it's going to be at the end. So, I left myself with very little time to do relationships. That's because you guys need to hire me as your life coach. All you have to do is hit a sister up on her DM and my preneur. I'll post my preneur number on Twitter also, so you can just text me on there if you want to talk about what you want to talk about on my more private platform. Then definitely hit me up on Preneur, okay? Actor Brian White, most brilliant vision. All of my socials able to connect on one app. So definitely, if you see my Preneur app, you can click on there, connect, give me your contact info. We could go back and forth, and then go over there and tell Actor Brian White that I sent you. Okay. All right. So relationships, 90 days creates new habits. Sometimes you're going to have people come to you and they're going to have a package and it is lacking the tools needed in order for you to be an effective connection. And sometimes you may feel like you want to run, or you can try to give it 90 days. Now, you guys are so very well put together on making sure that you hold the good 90 days. So why don't you use that same willpower you use to not do it, to be celibate? Why don't you use that same willpower to give someone a chance to try to do something differently? 90 days creates new habits. Show people how to treat you. Get the respect that you deserve by giving the respect to that person as well. And then being patient in the process. If they're not changing their bad habit in a week's time, I'm here to let you know that's not enough time. Write it down. 90 days creates new habits. So give it time. In 30 days, you sit down after a talk and say, pros, cons of our connection. Looks like your cons are a little longer on the list than your pros, and I'm going to need that list to switch around if we're going to continue to be together. So you let that person know and speak your mind and converse and make sure that the conversation and the communication is clear, and then you pull back, because we're going to be talking about that in one of my topics coming up. Don't try to stop the fuck up, right? We're going to be talking about not getting in the way of the fuck up. Right? So then you're going to pull back and allow that person to utilize the things that you showed them. You shared the list with them. So you're going to give that person an opportunity to do better and be better. Right? So give it 90 days. Tweet me. Tell me if anything changed. Ask me how to do the life coaching services if you need a little bit help, if it's a real struggle. But we got to share this song, so I ran out of time. Thank you guys so much for coming by. I am your host, Dee Shields. I appreciate you guys on Wisdom. I appreciate you on the podcast. Wherever you're tuned in, the podcast is on all platforms, Amazon, iHeart, Apple, Google. I could go on and on, but I want to share this song.
A buzz on in my favorite song is playing in a Broadway bar. Then you walk in and you're all alone, the hottest in the room by far. And you look up and our eyes lock, and my heart falls straight out of my chest, baby. Your lips and your sweet smile, let me kiss it till I die. For the rest of our lives, yes, you and me were meant to be. For the rest of our lives, drop your guard and take a ride with me, 'cause you got what I want. Oh, and I got what you need. For the rest of our lives, it's gonna be a done deal. Just wait and see. Well, the sun's up.
Thank you, my
You
sweet
wake
lovers,
up.
for coming by. I appreciate you. I am your host, Dee Shields. Make sure you tweet me, I am Dee Shields, or you can find me over on Instagram the same. Thank you so much for stopping by and supporting the podcast. And your girl will be back with another new topic, including the two that I mentioned during the show today. You guys have an amazing Sunday. Get out and do something real productive after you finish cleaning your home.